Ollie got a call, and it was a little confusing. They said that there was a really cute kitty, and that he needed to come right away to help solve it. That didn't make a whole lot of sense, but Ollie didn't have a whole lot going, so he went. The address was one that, he'd lived in Baltimore for a long time, and he just didn't recognize his address, but it wasn't that far away, on foot, or, arm in his case. So he went, and indeed there was a house there, as described. He rang the doorbell, and a voice came. It was one of those video doorbells. And the voice said, "Ah, you're here. Excellent. Thank you for coming so quickly." And I couldn't quite the voice was familiar, but he couldn't quite place it. You ever have that happen when it's like, gosh, that person sounds familiar. But who exactly they are, yeah. So I said, yes, yeah, I had the time free. When I thought about it, he wasn't exactly sure how far away it had actually been from his house. It didn't seem like it had taken very long, but, well, whatever. He wasn't going to worry about it. I said, yeah, so, I heard about the case, or the cat. He said, yes, excellent. I will be right down. So I waited for a minute. He sat in one of the chairs there on the porch. It's one of those houses where you walk up, 10 steps to the porch from the sidewalk. Nice quiet block. It seemed odd to Ollie that he felt like he'd never been on this block before, but, a lot of these blocks kind of look the same. And if you live there, obviously it's special to you, but yeah, that's all I didn't worry about too much. He just it was a pretty wisteria tree, wisteria vine. He was just looking at that, contemplating if he could climb up onto the trellis to smell the wisteria without, breaking anything. And the door opened, and it was a young lady. She said, "Oh, Ollie, hi, good, thank you for coming. You can come on in." Now, the lady Ollie didn't recognize at all. But he went in anyway. And the house was big. It seemed too big. Like for the house that seemed outside. But, good interior design can really make a house seem big. You pick the right furniture, maybe move a wall here or there, good paint. It's be surprising what you can do. So I didn't think too much about it after that first observation. But there, in the middle of the living room, standing literally on a pedestal, like the sort of thing you would normally put, a potted plant on, was a kitten. The kitten was orange and black, more orange than black, kind of like Garfield, but not with the stripe pattern. More of kind of a spotted pattern, not quite a calico, but almost like a calico. Orange instead of the yellow of a calico. Anyway, the point is, it was a kitten. And it had big hazel eyes and cute fuzzy ears. It was really cute and well behaved, just sitting on this pedestal. And I said, "Oh, I guess that's the cat we're after." "Ah, yes. This is Mrs. Mrs.? Oh, yeah, it's short for, let's see, let me do this right. Just a second. Name. Mrs. Whitney Kitty Houston Jr. Oh, so that's a big name for a small cat. I said, yeah, she'll grow into it. Oh, they realized that he was talking to the guy that he talked to through the camera, and the lady had wandered off. It was odd. Not that she had done that, but that Ollie hadn't noticed. I said, "Well, what's the mystery? What's going on? What are we here to figure out?" I said, well, our kitten is incredibly cute. Go on, Ollie said. The cat. This cat. Very cute. I said, yes, I agree. It's quite a cute cat. But what don't what's why did you why am I involved? I guess is what it comes down to. Oh, well, I mean, you're Ollie the Octopus. Great detective. I mean, there aren't a whole lot of private eyes in Baltimore, really. And a lot of them just do a whole lot of following around adulterers and things like that. Doing, spying on people and, stuff like that. I said, oh, I mean, I don't want to cast aspersions, Ollie said. I do some of that too. It's a big part of the private eye business. I said, yeah, sure, yeah, but you also, solve actual mysteries and fight giant robots and rescue elephants and all kinds of things like that. And I said, yeah, and that's true, I suppose. And you've got, nemesis, more than one. Charismatic criminals, like Batman or Dick Tracy. Well, I said, well, I don't know if I'm like Batman or Dick Tracy. Thank you. That's a high compliment for a detective, I said, oh, yeah, I meant it as a high compliment. I always read your stories whenever they show up in the newspaper. Well, I said, I guess I didn't realize I was in the newspaper. Oh, well, I have it right here. And the guy plopped down a newspaper, and there was Ollie on the front page of the Baltimore Sun. I said, I feel like I would have looked at the date. It was 3 weeks ago. What? I was on the front page of the Baltimore Sun, and I didn't know about it. And nobody told me. So I guess so. I'm telling you now. It's a good article, all about your exploits. Exploits. Like I just started saying exploits over and over again. Well, I thought that was pretty weird. So I went over to look at the cat. The situation was getting more and more unusual as it went along. This hostess had disappeared. His host was just saying exploits over and over again. And here was this incredibly adorable cat sitting on a pedestal, and all I just noticed, the cat had been staring at him the whole time. So he walked over and said, so you're Mrs. Whitney Kitty Houston Jr. And the cat said, meow. Meow, meow, meow. I said, do you understand that I'm talking to you, Mrs. Mrs.? The cat said, meow. If you understand English, meow twice. Meow, meow. If you understand English, meow 3 times. Meow, meow, meow. And I stared at the kitten. The kitten stared at Ollie. The guy that had called Ollie just stood in the corner saying, exploits. The day was getting weird. This was a weird day. Just then, the lady that had opened the door came downstairs. She had changed her clothes. She was dressed like a harlequin, like a clown, but in two-tone. And she said, pardon me, I've got to go. Duty calls. And she dove out an open window and rolled away. Landed in a roll, and then cartwheeled down the street. And I said to the guy, your daughter, wife, niece, exploits. Your niece, she's a performer. She has a lot of exploits. And then the guy stopped saying exploits, which I was glad for. So I'm still unclear. Your cat, Mrs. Whitney Kitty Houston Jr. I said, yes, can we go, is there a shorter nickname? Oh, we call it Miss. Okay, so Miss Cat here seems to understand English and likes to stand on a pedestal and has been staring at me now for a good 5 minutes straight. And this is all very strange. You've been standing in the corner saying exploits, exploits, exploits. And your niece, who lives here? Yes. Right? She just dove out a window in a clown costume. Harlequin costume, Ollie. Come on, you know better. So I wasn't sure, but yeah, okay. Harlequin costume. And then cartwheel down the street. Yes, she's off to work. Off to her exploits. Ollie flinched at hearing the exploits again. But it's still unclear to me what is the mystery. I'm a detective. I'm a private eye. You've got a lot of strange things going on here, but none of them seem to have a rational question involved. Then he heard a voice behind him that said, "That's exactly it. Sometimes you can't even get started if you don't know what the question is." Ollie whipped around. There was no one new in the room. He looked back to the guy who was smiling. He looked back to the cat. He said, "Miss Kitty, may I call you Miss Kitty? Meow once, if that's okay." "Meow." "Miss Kitty, did you just speak English?" "Meow twice, if you did." "Meow, meow, but there's no need for me to meow. I speak English." "So why did you meow earlier?" "You asked me to meow if I understood English. So I meowed. You're a guest in my house. I wouldn't presume to be rude. Of course you'd expect me to meow. I'm a kitten. I'm a kitten standing on a pedestal. But the question is, Ollie, what are you?" Ollie stared back at Miss Kitty, Mrs. Whitney Kitty Houston, Jr., looked back at the guy, looked back at the cat, and said, "Come to think of it, at the moment, I'm sure of very little. The only thing I'm really sure of is that it smells like overcooked, almost burning eggs." And the cat said, "Ah, well, that may be the right question." Ollie said, "Why does it smell like burnt eggs?" "And why does it smell like burnt eggs, Ollie?" And in a blink, Ollie was back in his apartment, on his couch, having fallen asleep while cooking breakfast, awakened by the smell of his burning eggs. "Ah," Ollie said, I did not get enough sleep last night. But I've got a fantastic name for a cat." So he threw out the eggs, started some more eggs, made himself a pot of coffee. And that was the case of Ollie and the cat.